Hello and welcome back to the MMA Bar. Today we're going to discuss the fascinating story of Kamaru Usman, an in-depth revelation of his life, and we'd like to walk you through his journey to become the best fighter on the planet at the moment. Yes, everyone knows of his rise from oblivion to fame. However, only a few consider Kamaru Usman untold stories, which are quite interesting. Now, without further ado, let's begin. Starting off, Kamaru Usman was born on the 11th day of March 1987 at Auchi in Edo State, Nigeria. He was born into a homemaking mother and a father who served in the Nigerian army. The American and Nigerian national of black ethnicity hails from middle-class family background and was partially raised in his hometown at Auchi, Edo State. Growing up in Auchi alongside his younger brother, Muhammad, and a younger sister, Kamaru lived the life of a peasant. Although he had stated that he enjoys his childhood, he also mentions that they didn't have money and had to farm before they could eat. Usman grew up with his mother and two brothers in Nigeria. As for his father, he was in the army and made his journeys to the United States before the rest of the family in to attend school to be a pharmacist. With plans of bringing his wife and children along at a later date, Kamaru was still a kid when his father moved to the United States to study towards becoming a pharmacist. Not long after, Kamaru's father brought in his entire family to live with him in Texas when Kamaru was aged 8. At first, things weren't too easy for young Kamaru. Living in the USA was a brave new world for Kamaru, who had a poor command over the English language. Nonetheless, he was quick to adapt to American culture following his school enrollment. Kamaru studied at Bowie High School in Arlington, Texas, and being that he mostly spoke pidgin English, he suffered from the language barrier. But that situation only made Usman more determined to overcome the adversity and break the language barrier. He took ESL classes and eventually mastered the English language. Detailing his first experiences in the USA, Kamaru said, "It was rough at first. I was getting into fights at school because I was being teased. I went through a spell where I was angry for a little while just because of that transition. But once you catch up and you grow out of that, it's a beautiful thing." While at the school, Kamaru struggled to establish himself on the school's football team and soon gave up after sustaining an injury. Although Kamaru liked football, he was only 5'1" in height and 103 pounds. He was skilled, but the punishment dished out to his small frame was simply too much for him to deal with. Later on, a wrestling coach suggested that he try out for the team. You must have wondered why he's referred to as Marty, especially by Colby Covington. While wrestling in high school, Kamaru was given the nickname Marty. His then coach had difficulty pronouncing Kamarudin, so he stuck with Marty. Upon his arrival, Usman was displeased when he was paired with a girl to wrestle with. But little did he know, this girl was a 3-time state champion, and much to his chagrin, she worked the poor Nigerian boy over on the mats. "This girl beat the S out of me so bad," Usman recalls. But being slammed by a girl didn't deter Usman. It did the opposite and made Usman work harder to be better. Usman compiled an impressive record of 53-3 at Bowie High School, and he became an NAIA national qualifier at William Penn University. He would then attend the University of Nebraska at Kearney, with plans of following his father's footsteps in getting into the medical field. There, he earned the NCAA Division II All-American honors and helped the school's wrestling team win the first overall team title in 2008. After shifting to America from Auchi in Nigeria, Kamaru Usman's father Muhammad Usman was pursuing a career in the pharmaceutical industry. But things didn't pan out well for Muhammad, as he was accused on multiple accounts by the company he worked for. Just before Kamaru competed for the NCAA Division II national title, Kamaru's father, Muhammad Usman, was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison, and eventually served 10 years, until February 2020. Kamaru Usman had been adamant that the fact that his father was wrongfully imprisoned. Recalling the events, Kamaru said, "Seeing my father for the first time having to go into the facility, at that point, he was just a number in the system. And having him come in and hold his family, and have to put myself in his reality that he has to go into a cell, and then for me to have to get in a car and drive away and he has to stay there, It floored me big time. He went on to win the NCAA Division II national title in 2010 and was a member of the University World Team for freestyle wrestling in 2010. Although Kamaru was an exceptionally good wrestler, his chances of making a living off the sport were limited. As a result, he committed to becoming an MMA fighter after he was briefed on the career prospects in MMA by former UFC light heavyweight champion Rashad Evans. Armed with a determination, Kamaru made his MMA debut in a winning effort against David Glover in November 2012 at RFA 5 in Nebraska. However, this second fight proved to be the worst Kamaru has ever had, as he recorded his first and only loss to Jose Caceres. He won his next 4 fights and tried out for the Ultimate Fighter in 2015 as part of Rashad Evans' team, the Black Zillions. While at the Ultimate Fighter competitions, Kamaru recorded victory upon victory and established himself as one of the fans' favorites. In the final of TUF, Kamaru defended Hayder Hassan in July 2015 to clinch a 6-figure contract with the UFC. From that moment, Kamaru's MMA career moved rapidly. One interesting fact during his career in the UFC is that he never fought on pay-per-view until he fought for the title. Almost no one knew that behind the scenes, Kamaru had asked the UFC not to book him on pay-per-view until he fought for a title and would have no choice. He did this so his father could watch his fights from the basic cable that they had in prison. He knew that Seagoville prison camp wouldn't purchase a pay-per-view for his father. From 2015 to 2019, Kamaru fought 11 times in the UFC, including his bouts on TUF. Despite going undefeated, he never made a single appearance on pay-per-view. Colby Covington, one of Kamaru's fiercest rivals, used the fact against him during a news conference in 2018. Covington told Kamaru to stick to basic cable because he wasn't popular enough for pay-per-view events. Every time Usman fought was usually a time a large number of prisoners came together to watch Usman fight. The prison had 6 televisions and all of them were tuned to the UFC broadcast whenever it was an Usman fight. Just about every inmate packed himself into the television room, leaving the library, dormitory, and multi-purpose room empty. Eventually, Usman got his shot for the title against Tyron Woodley. Usman fulfilled his dreams by defeating Tyron Woodley at UFC 235 to capture the UFC welterweight championship. The Nigerian Nightmare mauled Woodley en route to a unanimous decision victory that has judges giving Usman every round. The Nigerian Nightmare mauled Woodley en route to a unanimous decision victory that had judges giving Usman every round. Usman made history by becoming the first ever African-born UFC champion. Usman got his first opportunity to headline a pay-per-view card when he took on a bitter rival Colby Covington in the main event of UFC 245. Covington proved to be Usman's toughest test to date by delivering a back-and-forth battle for over 4 rounds. But in the end, Usman stood superior as he picked up a 5th-round TKO finish of Covington to successfully defend his belt for the first time. While slated to face friend and former teammate Gilbert Burns at UFC 251 in the first installment of UFC's Fight Island, a positive COVID-19 test would have Burns pulled from the event and need for a replacement heightened. The BMF camp, Jorge Masvidal, would replace Burns on just a week's notice and meet Usman on Yas Island, Abu Dhabi, UAE, for one of the year's best-selling pay-per-views. Even with the last-minute opponent change, Usman would have no problem cruising to another unanimous decision victory and successfully defending the welterweight belt for a second time. The pay-per-view sold 1.3 million, being the 7th most in MMA history, and the most without Conor McGregor or Brock Lesnar. At UFC 258, Usman had his 3rd successful championship defense when he won a knockout victory over title challenger and former BJH world champion Gilbert Burns, also earning a Performance of the Night award. Kamaru Usman faced Jorge Masvidal for the 2nd time at UFC 261. After Usman defeated Masvidal in the first fight that Masvidal took on short notice, their second encounter would be a short one as Kamaru knocked out Masvidal with a right hand to win the fight via KO/TKO and secured his 4th title defense. After the fight, Usman earned the number 1 spot at the UFC's men pound-for-pound ranking. Kamaru Usman fought Colby Covington for the 2nd time at UFC 268 for the UFC welterweight championship. Usman started the fight aggressively and secured the first round with him improving striking prowess and Colby's lack of aggression. Usman knocked down Covington in the second round and ended the round with grounded pound as he failed to finish the challenger. Usman went defensive in round 3 as Colby attempted to land some heavy shots mixed with some takedowns. Colby's attempts for a takedown were all unsuccessful throughout the fight, and it was his striking that he relied on to give him a competitive fight to Usman. In the end, both fighters embraced each other as Usman won the rematch against Covington via unanimous decision. Usman went on to win the Best Male Fighter of 2021, the Knockout of the Year, and he headlined the Best Card of the Year, UFC 261. While Usman had kept true to his nickname, the Nigerian Nightmare, he didn't invent it. Prior to Kamaru Usman carrying the Nigerian flag for sports in America, it was Christian Okoye in the NFL. Okoye was a star running back for the Kansas City Chiefs in the 90s and earned the nickname of the Nigerian Nightmare for his bruising running style while playing. Okoye had the nickname trademarked, however, Usman now uses the nickname after having gotten the blessings and endorsements of the former Chiefs star. With a 15-fight win streak and undefeated in the UFC, the Nigerian Nightmare started from humble beginnings and is now on his way to being one of the greatest of all times, if not already in the conversation. Thank you for watching this video. That's all for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell.